The roots of the lack of women's rights in Uganda starts with the culture.
Uganda suffers from gender inequality. Only men can own land and businesses because of the culture. There are no laws stopping women from owning land, but women face barriers on owning land because of cultural tenure systems. Women culturally do not own land, and there are acts which limit rights for women, such as the Succession Act, which a widow, unlike a widower, has no right to own the home after their spouse's death. Although few women have started to go to school and find mediocre jobs, it is a continuing challenge to have women own land in Uganda and be successful. It is not cultural for a woman to own land and have basic rights. Men have a hard time allowing these rights and being accepting of gender equality.
In Uganda, a majority of clinics and hospitals are regularly running out of essential medicines for childbirth, and only a third of facilities delivering babies are equipped with the basics. For example, a hospital where a young Ugandan woman died handles emergencies for a region of almost 3 million people, but it recently had no technology in stock to help women after cesarean sections. Women are not able to get the basic medicines these hospitals should have, which results in many deaths. As it is, about 80% of the world's maternal deaths occur in just 21 nations, 15 of which are in sub-Saharan Africa.
Uganda was among them. About 5,200 women died from pregnancy-related causes in the country in 2008. As another aspect of women's rights, the Ugandan National Development Plan points to the limited political and economic participation of women as a major factor contributing to the amount of violence and discrimination there is. Women have lack of decision-making power at home, preventing them from participating in important decisions such as use of resources, family planning, and accessing services like health and education. Women are overpowered by men because in Uganda, culturally, men are looked at more highly than women. There are no actual laws stopping women from owning land or being mistreated, but women traditionally do not own family land in Uganda.
The lack of women's rights is impacting Ugandan women immensely today. Women lack rights regarding owning land, medical treatment, and education. In the Ugandan Constitution, it states, "Every person has right to own property either individually or in association with others." This includes women. However, they are not being granted the same rights as men concerning land ownership. While no laws exist prohibiting the ownership of land, women only own 7 to 20% of the land in Uganda. This problem is particularly upsetting because they provide 70 to 80% of agricultural labor and 90% of all labor involving food production. The absence of medical supplies for women in Uganda is very disturbing. The Coalition to Stop Maternal Mortality in Uganda stated, "Every day in 2011, 16 women would die of avoidable deaths related to childbirth." This is linked to lack of supplies in the hospital, such as razors to cut the umbilical cord and contraceptives. An article in the New York Times told a story of a 33-year-old Ugandan woman who went to the hospital and bled to death because the nurses would not attend to her. According to a 2010 Health Ministry report, many hospitals accounted frequently missing vital medicines, as a third of services geared to childbirth were not stocked with fundamental supplies such as disinfectant and scissors. While education is a problem for many children regardless of their sex in Uganda, the contrast in boys versus girls enrolled in schools is large. Approximately 50% of boys continue through school until 18, while 67% of girls drop out after primary school. This is partially due to the high rates of child pregnancy and marriage in younger girls. In the adult population, 77% of males are literate, contrasting with 57% of women who are capable of reading and writing. Women in Uganda also suffer from domestic violence. A key component of the violence inflicted upon women is cultural. There are many customs in Uganda that are condescending to women and limit their human rights. These include abduction of girls, forced marriage, spouse sharing, and the bride price. Rape and sexual violence is still a great crisis in Uganda. These cruel acts often lead to HIV and AIDS and unwanted pregnancy in young girls and women. In marriages, according to surveys conducted in 2006 and 2008, more than two-thirds of women in marital relationships have experienced violence by their partner, and half of these women are exposed to this abuse on a weekly basis. There have been few attempts by the Ugandan government to better the women's rights issue. However, the efforts have done little to no good. For example, the marriage and divorce bill was proposed 14 years ago and it has yet to be put into action. Now many women of Uganda rely on non-profit organizations to help stand up for their rights. Project Have Hope is a non-profit organization that sells beautiful African jewelry made by Ugandan women themselves. By doing this, they hope to empower the women to make their own living. They also strive to provide an adequate education for women and children so they are more able to find jobs in the future. Another excellent program dedicated to helping raise women out of poverty is Outreach Uganda. Outreach Uganda goes into large and small villages and encourages women to make beaded jewelry for an income. This creates many jobs and helps women make money on their own. The organizations can only help the women so much. Gender equality cannot be reached until the government takes action and is committed to passing laws and reforms that will aid the Ugandan women. Without new regulations specifically directed towards medical care, education, and land ownership, these women will continue to struggle to take care of their families and get by.
We need an effective solution for women's rights in Uganda. People outside of Uganda need to support organizations that want to help Ugandan women, like ActionAid.org. ActionAid.org works with Uganda to try to end inequality and empower women. This non-profit organization has a short informative video to create awareness of the lack of women's rights in Uganda. Another non-profit organization is RaisingVoices.org. This organization focuses on preventing violence against women and children and shaping relationships between men and women. Uganda needs to focus less on the old culture of only men working in order to have working women who can own land, get good jobs, and have the exact same rights as men. Ugandan government must create actual laws that improve the rights of women for the next generation to come.